You're listening to the Gabe Molina Podcast.
It's a good day.
It's a beautiful day.
I got my buddy Kent Mantle here.
I'm with my kunyao.
How's you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you very much.
I
went from 12 to 13.
Really?
Yeah.
You're so mature for 13.
I know. If I'd have known now, but I know that.
Oh, Lord. What is that saying? If I didn't know I was going to live this long, I'd have taken better care of myself.
You know who said that?
Who did?
Mickey Mantle.
Did he really?
Totally.
And you're from the Mantle clan.
A little bit.
See, I didn't even think about that. When we made that connection, I didn't even try.
If I would have known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Could have been a few beers, you know.
A couple less.
Yes.
Or gone to whiskey earlier.
Yeah.
Something.
I don't know about that.
I got to tell you something. I kind of screwed you. Last night.
I don't remember that.
Well, no, it was more of a mental screw.
Oh, okay.
I made some really good deer last night, and I thought about bringing some, and I forgot to bring it along with the shirt that I planned to wear. So we're wearing undershirt today. Yeah,
You got the memo. We look alike.
Yeah, but yours is so shiny and crispy. Are you a deer eater?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really.
Have you had it?
I have had.
Okay.
I've had a lot of deer.
Okay.
I have a lot of friends that hunt.
Okay.
And so,
you're not Nina, where she's never had it and she will refuse to taste it. So.
No, but I'm a particular eater. I'm really funky about stuff. I don't eat fish.
Really?
I can't. I don't have a palate for it.
What about like other things out of the sea other than fish? Like we eat lobster, crab.
I've tried it all over and over again, and I just can't acquire a taste for it.
So you're just not a seafood guy?
No.
Okay.
But I can eat Long John Silver's. How crazy
Oh, well,
is
that's
that?
the crispy stuff.
It is. It's all about the batter.
What's the weirdest thing you like eating?
Okay,
what's the second weirdest thing you like eating?
I'm a fried chicken head, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah.
Who's your favorite fried chicken?
Between Popeyes and KFC.
Kent, you know what? There's so many times where I go like, how are me and Kent so connected? Those are my two favorite. Oh,
sure.
Man. Do you do spicy or do you regular?
Oh, totally spicy.
Okay, I'm
Totally
the same
spicy.
way. Yeah,
I wish KFC made the spicy.
Their original's so good and greasy.
It is.
But as I get older, I gotta eat it closer and closer.
So as a kid, one of my first jobs, I think it was my second job, and I just ran away from home. I was 16, and I was the fry guy at a Kentucky Fried Chicken back in my hometown.
Oh, awesome.
Belleville, Fairview Heights, Illinois. And we would experiment. It was crazy. We would do hot dogs dipped in like the fish batter. And it's amazing how they do their chicken, though, and the spices. And, I just loved it. I got hooked onto it.
Now it's probably all pre-frozen and kids just have to throw it in the oil.
I don't know. They have a, what do you call it when you baste it the day before? Not baste it, but you.
In the salty water.
Totally salty water.
What is that
And then they have a
called?
generator that blows bubbles up underneath. There's these big, huge, trash cans that you just dump chicken in. You fill it with water. You put this mixture in it. Then it agitates overnight. And then that's what they cook with the next day. That absorbs, that saltiness absorbs in that. And then I think the 17 herbs and spices is 90% pepper from what it looks like when you open one of those packets. So
That's hilarious.
just from it, I remember that from, oh my God, 100 years ago.
You just really appealed to the fat guy in me. I got watery mouth. I don't even do a podcast anymore.
We're going to take 10. We're going to go to Kentucky Fried
We'll be
Chicken.
back.
We'll be back. Thank you. Good night.
I'll have oil over my shirt and grease. So you just got back from Vegas too?
Got back from
Enjoying
Vegas.
time
We
with
did
friends?
a great weekend. We did 15 couples, and it was 3 of our birthdays, and one of our friends, Mike, it was his 60th.
Oh, happy birthday,
And
Mike.
so we went up there, and shout out to Mike. We had a great time. They're just great people. I'm very blessed with great friends like you.
Oh.
And so we had a great time. And it was
Did you go
really,
see YouTube?
YouTube?
Yeah.
No, I watched it in the room. No, I wanted to go. And it was their second weekend that was open. And I was like, okay, I'm going to watch the prices. I didn't buy before we left. I was thinking we get there and it'll fluctuate.
Yeah.
Because a decent seat before I left was $750 a ticket. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, do I want to see this concert? Or do I want to have gambling money?
Oh yeah.
And so
Sorry,
I thought
U2.
I'm gonna get there and make things happen. Well, they just went up in price. It was like crazy. And by the time, say like 2 hours before the show, we were going to go on Sunday, they went from a $700 ticket to change to $1,400.
Whoa.
And I was just like, luckily I was winning. And Kelly was like, we're not spending that money. We're not doing that. And so.
You married a dream killer too.
Yeah, totally.
Sorry, Kelly.
Yeah, don't worry about it. And so it ended up, it was, it got stupid expensive.
Yeah.
And so we're going to go back.
Okay.
We're going to go back and do that again.
Well,
but I talked to a lot of people that went. Like we'd see them in the elevator, we'd see them down at the casino, see them in a restaurant. And they literally, 50% of them were saying, it's like we went to see this show. And U2 was like elevator music in the background.
Wow.
It was just cool that it was U2.
Yeah.
But everybody was watching that massive LED screen.
What is it called? The dome or the sphere?
The sphere.
The sphere.
The MSG Sphere, which Madison Square Garden Sphere.
It's unbelievable. I've seen clips online of the first U2 show. And it's funny because now that you say that, they didn't really, it's almost like they're on a square stage that doesn't stand out.
It's a record player.
Oh, is that what it was?
That's what it is. And it's shaped, it's square, but it has the record album in the middle, just like the turntable,
old school.
Turner.
Yeah.
It's like old school. But they were so small, it fits 20,000. And so literally the seating itself is at such an angle, people had a lot to say about that. Like it was really at an angle.
Too steep?
But it was very steep.
Okay.
But everybody said it was a great seat because as long as you didn't I think the floor is general admission, so you stand. And then the seating goes straight on up.
Wow.
And so, but to get back, to be able to see the whole width of that end of the sphere, and it goes on top of you. That's what everybody was
phenomenal.
Like, hey, how was the concert? Oh, it was amazing. They had so much cool stuff on the screen. And I was like, well, how was the band? Oh, they were good. They're good.
They're U2. They're gonna U2.
But people go to a concert and think it's going to sound just like an album, like something you've been listening to YouTube for 20 years. And they always mix it up.
Yeah.
And so, people were like, oh, it just didn't, I didn't like them messing with songs and it just didn't sound like I'm used to. But the screen was incredible.
Poor things.
Yeah. Spoiled.
As a musician, I would imagine there's you're playing those songs thousands of times in your career. You probably do want to change some things up.
Yeah.
I would say the first time, like everybody loves U2. When I first saw them, I think I was in high school, and they did that Zooropa tour,
right,
where they played it on like NBC or ABC or something, and Bono was in this black leather jumpsuit, kind of like what Elvis wore,
right,
and he was making love to the camera. And I remember my parents were very not interested. And I was thinking, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. We had like 3 channels in Georgia West, and it just so happened that it was on one of them. And
they were not impressed.
They weren't. I was, though.
Right.
It was amazing. They played, I think I told you on the phone the other day, they played Till the End of the World, and Even Better Than the Real Thing. And those were my jams for years. So
they're a great band.
Yeah.
But I'm anxious to see other people in there.
Yeah.
And you go through it like, wow, who would you want to see in there? The first band that came to mind was seeing a Pink Floyd concert in there.
Oh, I bet that would be.
That would be mind blowing. Yeah, I'm sure.
You'd have to do some drugs before you went though.
Well, what's funny is we met this older couple in an elevator, and they had this concert shirts on, and we were like, "Oh, how was the show?" And the guy's like, "It's great. I'm so glad I didn't eat mushrooms." And we were just like looking at each other like, wow.
We would have had a rough night.
Oh my gosh. And they looked a little tired and ragged, but they were just like, it was an amazing show. It was great.
The screens are so clear. I didn't know what I was seeing the first time I saw it online, because I didn't know anything about the dome, right? I just hadn't been paying attention.
Right.
And I think it was like a skyline, or it was almost like above the clouds kind of thing, with mountains in the back, and it was like, I was looking at it going, what is this? And
amazing.
It was the U2 concert, and I was like, oh man, that's but $1,400, yeah, you probably want to spend that on cheeseburgers.
Crazy. But after the concert started, I was like pissed off anyway. So I just looked, and then they were dropping at like 500.
Oh, really?
But who wants to go when it's already started.
Yeah.
And I just went in. I want to be there, experience, get a drink, settle in, and then blow my mind.
Yeah, that's kind of weird that they would do that. I mean, I'm sure they're trying to make as much money as possible, and then it gets to the point where it's like, okay, let's just start filling seats.
Right.
And it's kind of like, well, if you'd have made them maybe not quite as high, you could have filled those seats earlier, and people would have had a better experience.
I read things about like a parking spot's $100. A beer is, what did I read? It's like 22. A mixed drink's 32. And it's just super expensive.
I can't remember if I told you or not last time we talked, but we went to go see Motley Crue and Poison and Joan Jett and all them. And it was so funny because the line to the bathrooms were always super long. And I told Nina, was like, I've never seen lines this long. I said, everybody here is 40 and up. Everybody's got weak bladders or, prostate issues. And everybody's waiting to get in the restroom. The beer was like $22 a beer.
Yeah.
It was funny because my brother was there. I didn't know he was going. Nina ran into him, and him and another buddy had gone. And it was funny because they were like, "Did you see how much the beer were?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "I said, don't lie. Did y'all have to move money out of your account over to your other account too?" They're like, "Yeah."
Yeah, and do that.
Like, holy cow! But it's so cool to catch some of those older bands now because even with like Motley Crue, like Vince Neil's, he's in rough shape, man, and they do a good job of kind of covering for him, but it gets a little weird. You made it to Guns N' Roses, didn't you?
Actually, I got to hang out with them.
Did you really?
Yeah.
How did they
Slash was incredible, and I got to spend it was a really crazy. They were staying downtown, so they're playing at the Alamo Dome, so we only had to go like a mile.
Okay.
And so waited around all day for him. He didn't go to sound check. I got in the car, super personable. We have a police escort. It's pretty trafficy around the Alamo Dome, and we're just bolting in and out of traffic, and I'm trying to pay attention, on the butt of this wheel of this two motorcycles.
Oh, that's
one was blocking, one was going.
It's a lot of tension, isn't it? A lot of stress.
But it wasn't that far. And then he wants to talk. And so he's asking me questions about who played in the Alamo, talking about John Wayne, and he wanted to know, do you know what part John Wayne had in the Alamo? I was like part in the movie? No, in the battle. And I was just like, driving. What? And he's just like, the bodyguard's just answer him. Just say something. That was a movie. But then I got to pull him straight up to the stage in the Alamo Bowl.
So did he think John Wayne was in the Alamo?
Well, he was jacking with me.
Oh,
he was totally jacking with me.
What's Slash? So there's no telling.
Well, they were in separate cars. I met Slash the day before, and we had met each other in the 90s.
Okay.
In Austin. And so we're, comes off his jet, and we're going downtown. He's not saying a whole lot. He's got this really great bodyguard with him, and we pull up to where I'm going to drop him off at behind a hotel. And I'm in the car by myself with him, and he goes, "Do we know each other? Have we met before?" And it's the first thing he's saying to me. I was like, "Yeah." It was like the 90s, though. It was a long, long time ago. And so he goes, I don't even remember the 90s, man, but I know it was fun. And so I started to tell him we were in Austin, and he had given me a couple seats, and I was with one of my drivers, and we were like second row, and he sat down in front of us on the stage, and by then everybody's, made their way up totally to the front. It was when they had low barriers. He sat down right in front of us, and he does one of these, take a lick. And I'm like,
to you guys?
We were both standing there, but he's looking at me.
Yeah.
And so I reach over and I strum. I just hit it from the bottom up, his guitar, and it just resonated through, the Frank Irwin Center. And the crowd was like, rah! That was so cool.
Awesome.
It was so cool. A split second of that was the baddest thing ever.
That's so cool.
And then later on that night, Axl comes out, and he's got just this horde of roses, and they're all wrapped, and they'll have a little card on him, and he's handing them out to all the girls, and he sees me, and I swear I'm the oldest guy within 50 yards, and he's like, shrugs his shoulder and hands me a rose.
That was this past time?
No, this was in the 90s. Yeah, it was like 93 or something. And so in my man cave, I have that rose.
Do you really?
I still have that rose. And it's got a little handwritten, autograph. And I'm sure somebody just went back there and was flying off these.
I thought maybe it was a cell phone number and his room number.
No, thank God. I didn't get that one, thank God. So
you're like, for some reason, guys just keep trying to smash King. That's so weird.
Hence the tattoo, exit only.
That's right.
Too funny.
And then you had Pink or something this past time.
We took care of Pink, and God, we've had a good roll of people coming in, and the Alamo Dome's really doing a great job. Mm-hmm. Steve Zito and his crew there, they're attracting people to come in. And the AT&T Center's always got something going on.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Stapleton was the other night.
Did you get to see him?
No, I didn't. I was prepared to go to this party for the weekend.
Oh, that's right.
I try to let my guys do stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, every once in a while I get to pick, and it's like, I'm going to go do that.
Yeah. I'll take care of this one.
Yeah. I'll take care of that.
When Chris Stapleton, right before he really hit, at least in our area that we were aware of him, a friend of Nina's told her on a Thursday, it was like, or Tuesday, I can't remember. He's like, hey, I got Chris Stapleton tickets. Do y'all want them? And Nina's like, hey, do you want Chris Stapleton tickets? And I was like, who? And she's like, Chris Stapleton. And I was like, no, I got to work tomorrow,
Right.
And so I ended up watching like 90 Day Fiancé and then putting it, going to bed. But like 2 weeks later,
he blew up.
And I fell in love.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could not believe we didn't make that concert. I was like, I didn't know who he was. But when I did, I think it was that Tennessee Whiskey song.
Oh, totally.
And it was like, he's got so many good songs. So.
But that voice, the voice is incredible.
What's crazy is there's so many talented people, and so many talented people music-wise that, whether they're playing instruments or they sing. But when somebody can sing with their soul, and there's a few of them out there. But when some of them sing and they just reach inside you and they grab you,
right.
And it's just, that is a true gift from God.
And I think it's more the singer-songwriter.
Okay.
Because they sing it with such passion because they wrote it.
Right.
Even down to, oh my God, well, over the weekend, we had this birthday party for my best friend's wife, Tammy. And
happy birthday, Tammy.
Tammy rocks. Tammy rocks. And so it was at this bar in New Braunfels, or in Green, called Our Lady. Shout out to Jen and Bobby.
Yeah, like I told you, I think we worked on that through my job.
It's a great venue. It's more of a bar, but this was the first time that I'd been there that they had bands, and my buddy Robbie hooked all this up for his wife. Surprise. Cool. She hates surprises, and she got surprised. But they started off with our friends Blue Water Highway.
Oh, that's right.
And they rocked it. They were incredible. And then the first time that I've really seen this girl, Caitlin Butts. And to me, afterwards, we were talking about it. She's a cross between Casey Musgrave and who are we talking about? I'm going blank. She was an angel.
Really?
She was great. And
solo
she's a
artist?
singer-songwriter. Yeah. Solo artist. And she's getting up there, so everybody check her out. Caitlin Butts. She rocks.
When you say she's getting up there, what do you...
Well, up there like
in
podcasts or Spotify.
Because I will tell you, Kent, I don't know if I told you this, and I feel like I may have, but then I kind of let it sit for a long time. But I started my little deal, my little Let's Hear It YouTube channel. So I've had one guest. It was my friends at Hazy Blues. But I actually bring them in next door. So depending on how up she is, give her my number.
Well, I think she's based out of, she just happened to be in the area.
Oh, okay.
But
So
she's
she's
based
not
out
from
of
there.
Nashville.
Gotcha. Okay,
So-
that's totally different.
And so it was amazing. She sang like 9 songs. And then what we call the headliner that night was Ray Wiley Hubbard.
Oh, wow.
Who was and that was actually my first experience with him.
Now, did
And it
your
was
buddy
incredible.
set these bands up?
He did.
Wow.
He did. And so I think Ray Wiley lives out in like the Canyon Lake area. Caitlin just happened to be like in Austin, doing something, and then hung over a day and then came down and did this party. And Blue Water's out of Kyle.
Okay.
And so Blue Water's our band,
Yeah, you told me about them. I've been listening to them. They're good.
They were really good. And so, but it was a great night. But listen to Ray Wiley tell stories about when he writes these songs, like Snake Farm. Have you ever heard the song Snake Farm?
I don't think that I have.
You got to listen to it.
I'll check it
But it's about the snake farm in I-35.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's just a crazy song. And so he was
That's
telling us how he
awesome.
wrote this and, you know, did some other songs. He's like, well, you know, it's like mailbox money. He helps he's a singer-songwriter, but he writes a lot. And so he was talking about, you know, going out to the mailbox, getting that check for the royalties. And he was able to build a fence around his property. Then he'd sing some more songs, and he got into the story about I'm a Desperate Man is a song that he wrote. And he sings it, and Eric Church reached out to him and brought him up to Nashville, and that was one of Eric Church's #1 albums,
Wow.
I'm a Desperate Man. And so he says, after that, I got back to the house, and about a month later, I go walk out to the mailbox. Sure enough, there's that check. And we're all like, how cool, that's cool. He goes, and then I was able to buy myself a gate for that fence. I'm so happy. And it's the little things.
Yeah.
I'm sure he made a buttload of money
It's probably a really
doing
nice gate.
that. Yeah, it's a super nice gate. So, but it was great here, and just the, you know, the Texas part of it.
Yeah.
The Texas, you know,
Well,
connection.
you feel some connection to it, yeah.
Totally. And it was just great to see him.
You know what's cool, and I'm not an artist, so I don't know. But I would imagine those guys, when they're younger, they've got some experiences that they've lived, and they want to write songs about it, and they continue living and gaining experience. But I would imagine at a certain point, as an artist, the bigger you get, the more complex it is to be social and experience those things that you used to when you were younger.
When you're what? Not as well known.
Yeah. And so it's got to be difficult. I use myself, for example, right? As I get older, I want to be around fewer people and stay in my space, you know?
Right.
But as an artist, how do you continue to be creative and grow when you're no longer exposing yourself to certain things, right?
Right.
So that's super interesting, you know,
is.
that he's still putting out work and getting those mailbox checks.
And he's just a good old boy. Just a good old boy, no frills. And so he'd stop the concert and goes, let me introduce you to my band. And it was just one guy. And it was his son
That's
who was
cool.
playing with him. And it was just like, oh, how cool was that? How cool for the son. And I can't tell you how old he was. He looked really young, but he wasn't. You know, to have that connection with your father, be able to do that with your father was just amazing.
Yeah.
And so I talked to him afterwards. I talked to the son afterwards. And he was just like, oh, I'd worked 6 years for Gibson guitars and did this and did that, and finally kind of, you know, hanging out with my dad and learning. And he had some just incredible guitars out there.
Is he a songwriter too?
He is a songwriter too.
Okay.
And he's really, the only time he'd sang like one word on a backup, you know, one of his dad's songs he was singing, and I think he went up and go, aha, aha. You know,
Hey.
that was it. He didn't say another thing the whole time.
I hope he's getting some mailbox money
I'm
too
sure
for that
he is.
aha.
I'm sure he is, for sure. But it was just super neat to see that and hear him tell these stories. I love concerts like that.
Yeah.
That do that.
How many people do y'all have there?
It was like 150.
And that was all party?
It
party
was all
members?
party people.
That's
It was
cool.
like a family reunion. We have a lot of Victoria friends. My buddy
Okay.
Robbie and Tammy live in Victoria, and then they have this really great house in New Braunfels. So they travel back and forth.
Okay.
And Robbie's trying to slow the roll, you know, and spend more time out at the New Braunfels house. So, and this is, I'm sure I've spoken about him before. This is my 50-year best friendship guy. I mean, he's
awesome.
my man.
That's awesome.
And so,
Where'd y'all meet initially?
school in Illinois, Belleville, Illinois.
Really?
We met in middle school. We had rival schools in middle school. And then we got to high school and we just connected.
Yeah.
And so I graduated from 1980. So, you know, we're pushing years. And, you know, he's been very successful. He's a very giving guy.
That's
I mean, and so is she. Tammy's just an incredible, the epitome of a Texas woman
Yeah.
that loves to have fun.
Good.
She's a
Southern
great
Belle
people.
type lady.
It is.
I like ladies like that. That's
They're
awesome.
just pure class. You know, and I tell people, you know, you never know he's got a dime in his pocket, neither one of them.
Yeah.
But they just give and give and give. And it's just amazing. And they don't like to talk about it, and I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hell for calling him out. But he does. And it just wants you to do better.
Well, you know what's funny? Guys like us, it's our responsibility to let people know about how good people are.
Right.
You know, granted, you don't want to put too much of their business out there because a lot of that's private.
Right.
You know, but when there's a solid dude, people need to know, hey, this guy's a solid dude.
Right.
You know,
And he is. He's just, they both are. They're both great philanthropists. And, They just do so much for Victoria, and now they're branching out and helping people, in New Braunfels.
Yeah.
And so they're just fun. They're just powerful in my heart. They move me. They inspire me.
That's interesting that they've chosen Victoria. And maybe there's a reason.
There is a reason. He wanted to raise his kids in a small town like we grew up in Fairview Heights, Belleville, Illinois. And I think, gosh, there was like 35,000 people, in Belleville back then. And so it was a small town. Everybody kind of knew everybody, and his father was a politician. My uncle was a politician, and they'd crossed paths before. My father was an architect. We were talking about architecture earlier. But we just meshed and we just hung out together. And Kansas was one of our favorite bands. And, it would be me driving or him driving. But I swear to God, he left fingerprints on my dashboard from playing Kansas songs on my dashboard when it would come out on our 8-track.
Well, that's probably what drew the ladies in, is that air keyboard.
Oh my God, like crazy. I was just the wingman. I was just blessed to be the wingman. So, but catapult to our lives when we were in our 50s. And, Robbie brings in Kansas, to Victoria.
You told me about that.
Yeah, it exposes them. And it was just incredible. It's incredible.
Victoria is such it's funny because, like, I grew up near Victoria, and it's nice when somebody can find a community like that they like, because there's no reason outside of the reasons he probably has to love Victoria, because it's in the middle of, it's 2 hours from everything, right? It's 2 hours from here, it's 2 hours from Corpus, 2 hours from Houston. Right. And I had friends that were in Victoria for a long time, and it is, I'd imagine, a jewel that most people ignore, because you don't go there unless you're going to Houston, or you don't go there unless you're heading. You go through Victoria,
right.
I guess is what
if you're going down to Port Cotter or across, or it's a drive-through town, but it's big. I mean, I think there's 35, 40,000.
Yeah, it's decent size
now. But he, just in that community, is blessed to have him there. And awesome. What he does for that community.
And then New Braunfels isn't too far for him to make that drive. So.
No, it's like 2 hours.
That's
I'm just joking.
I think it really is closer to
probably so. But New Braunfels is such a great city too. But it is busting at the seams. It's just getting bigger, and the subdivisions are coming out.
Oh, it's getting crazy. It's almost time to leave. I tell Nina every time something starts growing, I'm like, we need to get out of here.
But your property value is skyrocketing.
Oh, it's crazy right now. I think our house payment went up like $400 or $500 this last little appraisal deal.
Right.
And so that's kind of nice when you're going to sell, but when you're living there paying taxes, it's like, But a little cool thing about where our house location, there's this weird little bump in Guadalupe County that just bumps up and splits Comal and Bear. It doesn't go very far, but our house is in that little bitty bump.
Really?
So we pay Guadalupe County taxes, which is considerably less than Bear and Comal.
Oh, for sure.
So outside of that, I probably would have dumped her.
So is that like on the Church Cibolo kind of?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And it's literally like if you drive down our road that kind of goes through all the neighborhoods, you'll see the county changing, like immediately, like less than 100
because
yards.
Of the roads.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's
You haven't moved since the last time I was at your house.
No, we're still there.
Okay.
We're still in a $50,000, or now it's appraised at a little bit more than that, but $50,000 doghouse. Those damn dogs run the place. Do y'all live with dogs, Kent?
I have one that rules our life.
How old?
Duffy. He just turned 12.
Okay.
And my wife loves that dog more than she loves me, I guarantee you. But he is a 12-pound Rottweiler.
Okay.
The small man syndrome.
Yeah.
I don't need a burglar alarm, even though we have one. But that dog would tear somebody to shreds. He's going to rip your pinky toe right off your foot. And you're going to be freaking out about it. But he's a great kid.
We've got a 14, 15-year-old grumpy old man of a dog that's probably 60 pounds and is deaf, borderline blind. Then Tank is probably 90 pounds.
I've seen pictures.
She's a little deaf. She's a little blind. And so they literally just lay around the house all day long. And like, I love them, Kent. But when we no longer have them, I'm not in a hurry to get another dog right
You know,
away.
and we've been talking about that too. It's tough. You know, we
Where do you
did. We
sit
had a
on that?
basset hound for 15 years. That was our
Yeah.
first kid. And just, I came home one day and, you know, it was heartbreaking. That's your kid.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what, that's part of your family. And so it took 9 years to get another dog.
Yeah.
And so we did it, and, you know, he just turned 12. So he's a little, excuse my friend, he's a little shit. He's attitude.
I didn't realize my last dog was in high school. And now I know why. Because those two assholes, I can't stand them, kid. I love them, but I hate them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
It's like when they're being good, they're good. But now that they're both old and grumpy, Beaumont is
caretaker.
Yes, and it's like he'll sit there and he'll stare at the refrigerator from a foot away and just bark and bark and bark, and it's like, dude, there's nobody there, and so you got to pat him on the bottom, and he'll wake up and turn around and go back to
Really?
the closet. But he's a little senile, but he has his moments where he's still doing all right. But I think that's part of also like just but having dogs is.
Yeah.
You don't ever, you know, they're so cute when they're puppies and they're so ornery when they're, you know, teenage years or whatever.
Right.
But then when they start getting old and the hip dysplasia and them being crazy and them just
Barking at nothing.
barking at nothing at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
After a while, it's like, what are we doing?
I know. And it does tie you back from being,
Yeah.
going to places and
Sure.
going out of state and,
Yeah.
you know.
So-
So it's tough.
I wanna-
I just always lived dogs.
I need you to text Nina later and tell her no more dogs.
And I'm going to stay away from that. I'm going to stay away from that.
Well, Kent, I wanted to ask you some stuff, and we talked a little bit earlier about business. You know, you've got so many cool stories, and I'd like to get into some of that too. But then I was thinking, like I told you this past weekend, I was like, I got friggin' Kent Mantle, king of the limousines.
Whatever.
Business-wise, we talked earlier, but as far as building a culture, for you and Elegant, and here you are down the road with Elegant, and just in your career, was a culture something that you focused on building, or was it just something that developed, or is it something that's just an extension of you and your partners?
It's 100% an extension.
Okay.
You know, and I don't have any formal schooling. You know, started a business when I was 27 with the help of a friend, and it was really his money. You know, and it kind of, he got out of it, I took it over, and it's, I'm sure I broke every rule, you know, of being a manager, being an owner, and they're your family.
Yeah.
You know, I spend more time with these people than I do with my own family. So you know them. You know their lives, you know their kids, you know what's going on in their lives. And so you have to, we're kinfolk.
Yeah.
And it's the culture that you set in that, and the trust. Like my business partner, he gets really upset because people come in and sit in my office and they talk, you know, my employees do. And so I feel like Lucy in Peanuts. I know back then, you know, it's like, okay, the psychiatrist is in, but I'll listen to him, you know, and I mean, I will try to give them as much great advice or compare things that I've gone through and tell them stories about, well, I've gone through that and I've handled it this way. And, you know, it may work, it may not, but you have to have an open door.
Yeah.
They have to be able to trust somebody in the upper food chain there that they can come and talk to. And so I think, like I say, I'm the front man, and my partner George is the back guy. You know, he handles the finances, the insurance, everything that I do not want to do.
Yeah.
Because that's not so fun. I want to be in the front where it's fun. And so, and we've always told ourselves, you know, it'll be time to sell when this isn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
And it's come down to a couple of times. There's been a few weeks where you're just like, what the hell was I thinking?
Yeah.
And then you have the incredible months, and you're like, God, I'm so proud of this. You know, it's been such a great adventure. But you can't do it, you know, without your team, without your troops. And I always say to my whole staff, you're only as good as your worst chauffeur. Mm-hmm. And so what do? You got to pay attention, you know, and I wish I could spend more time training and being one-on-one. And I really have set my sights And my goals in the really near future, probably within a month or two, where I'm going to step back a little bit from the sales part of it and like concentrate more on spending time with the guys and the girls. I have great women chauffeurs. I have great guy chauffeurs, but just give them a little bit more of insight and polishing, because I've done this for 35 years. So I know the bad and the good. Yeah. And I give everybody my cell number, every new hire that we have. And I tell them, if you get into a predicament that you don't really know exactly what to do, call me. Let me make the bad decision or the good decision. We'll share in the glory. The bad decision, your job is safe. I can't get fired because I made that bad decision.
Yeah.
So, and they feel good about that. And I get calls. I mean, my phone rings 24 hours a day, and sometimes when I'm asleep, I just tell them, just keep calling and I'll wake up, or call the office and, we'll get it. We'll get your answer and we'll get it worked out. So they got to have trust in you to help them make decisions. And then once they hear that decision, they'll learn, and I always want them to ask questions. I don't, when you're dealing with different kinds of people, like we deal with such a wide variety of people, and it's such a wide variety of personalities. So not every decision is going to be right, but 99% of them are going to be right. And it's, those one-offs that's like, oh, yeah. And I say to myself, well, there's not much that I haven't heard or experienced, but there's always something every day. Like, what? What do they want to do? So, I mean, you got to make just right off the cuff because it's happening right then and there. But, and I feel it's all about culture. I want them to be proud to work for us. And I mean, no matter who I meet out there, as soon as I give them my card, it's like, oh, I see your vehicles everywhere because we have the elegant E on the side of it, especially with the buses. I mean, it's a moving billboard.
Yeah.
And so we get a lot of business off of that, but one of the first things I tell my new chauffeurs is you're an ambassador of San Antonio. And I probably told you this before in our past podcast. We're the first they see and the last they see. Be it just, somebody coming in to visit San Antonio, somebody, coming in for a convention, or a celebrity or a CEO of a corporation or whatever. But it's that first initial, just like meeting somebody. You decide your thoughts on that person within the first couple of minutes. And so that's what I wanted to build, that culture of be proud of our city, learn some of, the old history and, just know your surroundings, know what's going on. So when somebody asks you a question, be proud. This is the 7th largest city in the nation. And when I say that to people, this is the 7th largest little city in the nation. Because when I first moved here, I think there was 700,000, 750, and now we just hit like 1.7 million. And I've been here 45 years.
Wow.
And it's amazing, from where we used to live and you used to live or whatever. Well, you didn't grow up in San Antonio.
Right.
So when I first moved here, going to 1604 was like, you got to take a sandwich. Because that's a picnic. You're going far, and to go like to Kerrville, oh my gosh, it was like you're crossing, state lines. But now it's just another subdivision. It's just right down the street.
It's crazy how much it's grown.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Maybe I'm not exposing myself to the right people, but I feel like what you described, your process with your employees is a rare thing because you're taking on immediately a lot of responsibility.
It is.
But at the same time, I think people appreciate that. I think it's difficult to hire people because you're meeting them for the first time, and there's probably things that you look for. Maybe eye contact, conversational skills. Willingness to engage in a conversation. But at the same time, when you hire somebody, you're hiring a person for the next possibly 20, 30, 40 years.
I'm not just hiring a person. I'm hiring a personality.
Yes.
I hire on personality.
But how do
I
you
can hire people all day long, but I can teach you how to do this, be a chauffeur, be a leader, but I can't teach you how to have a personality.
What are you looking for? Because there's not much time for you to pick up that personality. No. What are things that you look for when somebody's going to look for a job? What should they be doing if they're going to sit in front of Kent Mantle for 30 minutes?
Eye contact, interaction together, and I am probably one of the most unethical interviewers, but I hate that corporate,
That's why we get along, kid.
What would you do? What would you do if you're put in this scenario? You're looking at like, I don't know. I've never been put in that scenario. I don't do your business. Yeah. So we just talk about culture. We talk about life. What are you good at? Have you ever done this? And then I tell my story of, I don't know why, but it was a passion since I was a kid to do this. And I've probably told the story, before that I was at, my buddy Robbie and I and some friends went to see Queen. I saw Queen 5 times back in the 70s. So one concert, we ran behind the Checker Dome in St. Louis, and Freddie Mercury came out, and it was the 70s because he totally had a 70s outfit on. He had a white overcoat, but it was the big long shoulders that came down to his waist. It was a V, looked great. It was just like, wow, that dude is so cool.
Yeah.
And he walked up to his limo driver and hugged his limo driver, and they sat and talked, and I was just like in my head, I'm like, wow, what a lucky dude. That would be such a cool job. I'm sure it would be a great job. And so we were probably 15, 16, 17. And 10 years later, that opportunity came by where I was able, to join in on a team and do that. And so, and it was everything that I thought it was going to be, that I dreamed that it was going to be. So you got to have those dreams, but a lot of people, I'm getting a lot of Uber drivers. Let me tell you that. Like, that has opened up a whole workforce for me because they're having to use their own car, or they'll rent a car from Uber, and it costs, they're in for $130 a day. And you're an employee with us. And so these are our cars. You don't have to pay anything. We pay for gas. We're paying you to go drive that car. Yes, I want you to keep it clean while you're out and about. But it's a different culture from what, especially those Uber drivers are experiencing, using their own car, wearing the hell out of it, paying the gas, paying the insurance, and they're just like getting tired of it. So I'm getting literally 5 or 6 a week applicants that are wanting to get off the road from Uber. And so
that's interesting.
But they do have, and I met some duds that are like, no, you're doing a good job at Uber. You should probably stay there.
Yeah.
That should be what you do. And then there's people that I'm like, oh my God, where have you been? You're gonna so love this because they're service minded.
Yeah.
And you have to have that mindset in the beginning. Like I love waiters and waitresses, bartenders, people that come from that field. And I get a lot from, because I do so much with all the hotels and stuff downtown. When somebody's ready to leave a hotel, they're a great fit for us. Concierge, I have a lot of people from all that service.
Do you snipe?
I do not snipe.
Okay.
I do not snipe unless they're ready to go.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, if you're going to leave, and you're really going to do it, you can come see me. But I don't poach drivers from other companies, and people love to poach from us like crazy. And, especially in Austin, a lot of companies up there. And I mean, it's come to...
Have you lost a lot of folks in Austin?
I have lost quite a few because it's so challenging. The workforce there is super small. And so I've had bus drivers, especially because the CDL is priceless right now.
Really?
And so literally being on a street, and if it's Congress in San Jacinto or whatever, in a bus with people in it, other owners come up to the driver. Like, I'll give you $500 cash right now. I'll pay you $35 an hour. Just park this bus. Get in my car.
Have they parked it?
Not one.
Oh, okay, good.
Knock on wood. Not one has done that. But then that's how I get the feedback is like, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
And my business partner taught me long ago, like when we first got together in 97, desperate people do desperate things.
Yeah.
And so I've tried to put that mindset into my children, and just warn them. That's just how things are. But and it's just true. If you think long and hard about it, desperate people do desperate things. So, which kind of makes me happy because my competitors are so desperate, they're coming after my drivers.
Yeah.
So, and again, I would never do that. I'm just not like that. We are not like that as a company. But if somebody wants to leave and come over, well, we're so big. We got nice cars. We try to take care of our people. Yeah. So you got to build that culture to want them to want to come to you. And I try to build that where I want you to be proud of what you do. I want you to be proud of the cars that you're driving and the clientele that we have. I mean, it's an upper scale clientele. Yeah, we still do proms, we bachelor parties, we do it all. But once you get into that corporate world that we do, you meet these incredible people that's just mind-blowing. And for an example, the other day, it was the Friday before the eclipse. So this guy walks in my office, and he's like, he looks familiar. And so when you walk in my office, I got a couple of my sales girls up front, and then you look to the right, that's my office. I mean, I see everybody that walks in that front door. So he walks in, and he looks at me, and he's coming to my door. Tall, older gentleman. And he's like, I just wanted to come down and introduce myself. I'm your $60,000 client for April. And I was like, come on in and have a seat. Of course. And so we start talking a little bit. I was like, and I'm bringing on my computer screen now. When are you booking in April? What's going on? And so I'm looking at it. This guy's got like 6 motor coaches. And I was like, guy, you look so familiar. Have we met before? He goes, we haven't. He goes, I'm here. I'm what they call the eclipse guy. And I was like, well, who calls you the eclipse guy? Well, I work for the Weather Channel. And so he was he was in for the eclipse in San Antonio and just came by to visit with something that he called it his hobby, that he does this little tour thing. So he's trying to expose all these people to eclipses all over the world, be it like the Ring of Fire or the total eclipse that's going to happen, on April 8th. So he literally is bringing 300 people from around the world.
Wow.
And they're all flying into Austin. And I think he's staying at the San Antonio, the Austonian or something downtown in Austin. And so, but he's having a big party at Marble Falls. So he just came and people like that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I knew you, but this guy just walks in my office. Getting to meet people like that. And he's like, oh, we're going to feed your drivers. If they, whatever, we're going to take care of them. And it's good to hear that, know. And what's happening right now at Formula One. My drivers are happy to do it. It's cool people. We're taking care of the different race teams. And so just to be part of that deal, it does wonders for them.
Yeah.
And they have stories.
In it. Yeah.
They, and they hear me tell stories. And so they want to live those stories. So,
That's how you do it, huh?
That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
That's so cool. And it's funny because, we talked a little bit earlier about, my current employment situation.
Yeah.
And it's very opposite of that. One thing that I think is so important is people want to feel useful. They want to feel, I don't want to say the word important, but they want to feel needed, I guess, is the word.
It's important. Everybody wants to feel important and part of a team.
Yeah.
So everybody has their important part, Gabe.
Yeah.
And it's just making that thing come together and making them feel like you want them to be productive, but you set the trend of how that's going to be. We talked about training, and it's all about training, and it's tough to just throw somebody like you were talking about it.
Yeah.
They're hiring people, just throwing them in there with no training. What ambition are you going to have?
Yeah.
Why would I want to stay with this?
One thing that I've noticed from that practice is, especially in the younger folks, there's a lot of, they want to do good. They want to do a good job. They want to do what needs to be done, and they want to do it correctly.
Right.
But when they haven't been exposed to a situation and they don't have any guidance or leadership there to show them how to do those things, they're still going to make the effort to make the right choices, but they're doing it with no guidance, right?
Right.
So
and they can be so much better with just a little bit of guidance.
They can be better, and that's an opportunity for them to build bad habits. And once you get enough bad habits under you, now you've got to go back and retrain those habits out and retrain the new ones in. where with a little bit of guidance and a little bit of, I think, just time and effort from the people that are there, whether it's management or senior folks, being able to guide these people and send them in the right direction. They're going to have their own experiences on the job, and they're going to learn from those. But when they can go into it with some tools, I tell nephews and nieces all the time when I talk to them, you don't have to know everything, because you may be exposed to situations that maybe I wasn't exposed to. But when you have the tools, whatever that toolbox is, when you have certain tools, you can kind of go into any situation and make a reasonably decent decision, you know?
Right.
And again, you have, in your industry, you have a good smile, you have a good personality, you're willing to make conversation, you're willing to listen to people.
Are you willing to shut up and speak when spoken to? Yeah. Number one rule of being a chauffeur. Yeah. Speak when spoken to. Yeah. You know, and it's true.
If they can hold those tools, they can apply them in any situation. Mm-hmm. Do I need to be quiet here? Do I need to listen? Do I need to be in the ear? Right. Do I need to talk? Those are all things that I feel, yes, on the job training. I've worked for people, and I think I currently work for a person, that the on-the-job training to them is open up the gate to the pasture and let them in. Yeah. You know, and it's like, well, hang on, they need to know what to stay away from and what to head toward and where to be productive. And, they need to know these things so that way they're just not, willy-nilly roaming around,
right. There has to be expectations.
Yeah.
And this is my expectations of what I want you to do and build with me. And I want to help you build to be that person. I want to make sure that you make as much money as you possibly can.
Yeah.
But I want you to get up every day and love coming to this office and getting into a car and doing it. You got to love it.
Yeah.
Life is way too short. I mean, everybody says this. Life is way too short to wake up miserable and do what you hate. Why would anybody want to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, if I hated this, maybe I'd go, be a chef or be a sous chef or whatever. Like I'm a damn good car washer.
Yeah.
If they paid me what I was making washing cars, I'd probably do it, less stress.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? You got to love it. You got to have a passion for what you love. And, my daughter, through the passion that my wife has, is one of the best teachers. She is thriving. She loves it. She spends so much time preparing for it each day. And that's a passion that was taught into her. And so that was Mackenzie and Kelsey, they both worked for me when they were going through high school, much to Kelly's dismay. But they loved it and they were good at it.
Yeah.
Kelsey, not so much. I fired her 3 times, but gave her a job back. And, it was part of learning and being the daughter. But now Kelsey is in charge of logistics for a produce company.
Yeah.
It's in the same kind of atmosphere that I'm in, but she ships produce, from the valley all over, like America up to Canada. It's amazing what she does.
You know what's funny about you saying, Kelly, not being excited about the girls working for you, but I think one thing that your industry gives young people is exposure. Like everybody needs exposure to something, right?
Right.
What you give them exposure to is interacting with people. And you look at younger folks these days, and not all of them. There's a bunch of people who are very communicative and, can hold a conversation and make eye contact, do everything they need to do. But that is something I think that gets lost. We send kids to college and we say, hey, you're going to study this, you're going to learn this. But being able to sit there and talk to a random person that you just met is a skill that is so important, but I think gets ignored. That makes you her shipping produce. You're going to talk to somebody on the phone that you have no clue who they are.
Right.
You need to convey to them some information. You need to do it in a manner that they can understand it. You're not just rattling off information. I was telling you earlier, my department manager, here on these projects that we started working on, I will take my cell phone and I will put it on record and I'll throw it on the table and tell him, have at it. Because his process is more of a mind dump. it's not so much, hey, let me convey this information to you in a way that you're going to understand it and then you can move forward with it. It's here's everything that's in my brain. And
throws it out.
He just throws it out. And so it's interesting because what for me, what helps me by recording it is because he may talk about A, B, and C, right? He may start at A, go to B, go to C, but halfway in C, he starts talking about A again.
Yeah.
You know, and I can't write that fast. You know, if I'm writing it, I'm probably not listening.
Right.
You know, so I'll sit there and I'll record the whole thing.
Go back and listen to it.
Go back, listen to it, make my notes, and then move forward. But again, that goes back to what you guys do. You know, having that interaction with people, having a conversation with folks, making them feel. I had a conversation with my nephew a long time ago. I said, when you talk to people, you're not talking to them in a manner that they feel like you want to listen to them. And you need to learn to have conversations that way. You need to have input. You need to have listening time.
Right.
You know, if I can tell that you don't want to talk to me, you know, and so when I notice that, my department manager right now, there's times where you start talking to him and his mind goes and he starts looking another direction or starts playing with something. I'll immediately stop talking and turn around and get back to work.
Totally.
Because you're not hearing anything anymore.
I'll do that with my wife.
Yeah. I don't even talk to Nina. We communicate via text more so now. It's easier.
I know.
But so I mean that's all things that I think are so important.
But that's a guy that's got a hellacious full plate.
Yeah.
It's not just him or you that he's looking after.
Yeah.
It's the whole group. You know, and how many people are at your office?
I think in our department, I want to say there's about 10 or maybe 11 currently.
But everybody's doing different stuff, from electricity to plumbing to.
Which is what always makes me nervous, is because, and the thing I try and convey to him is, and I've even told him these exact words. I need you to not lose your shit, right? And if you staying with it means you giving me more responsibility. Our conversations, the last couple of reviews, I've told him, I said, how stupid is it that I'm fighting with you because I want more work and responsibility? I said, that's literally what we're fighting over.
Whoever hears that.
You know, and that's what I told him. I said, it's not like I don't want to do things and I'm arguing with you because I feel like I'm doing too much. I'm asking you for more,
Right.
You know. And it goes back to the, I think when you have employees, and I kind of talked about this earlier, we've gotten busier, which has been good. It's so interesting to see our younger guys turned on. Their brains are turned on.
I'm sitting there.
They're excited.
Right.
They're have more input. When you have a conversation with them around a table over a project, you can see them thinking. They're saying things that convey to you. They're paying attention and they know what the scope is now. You know, that only happens when you give people that opportunity.
Right.
You know,
But you gotta have the work to do it.
You gotta have the work too.
I get it.
That's the repetition part of it, you know, and that's kind of where we've been in like a weird thing, you know. I guess being slow like we have been in the past, you know, that just what is it? What does that say? That's saying the idle hands do the devil's work.
Totally.
You know, and it's like when there's nothing to do, people start filling their brains up with other stuff. A little weird thing about me, I got this weird quirk, is if I don't have very many things to do, I get crazy lazy. I function more efficiently when I'm overwhelmed.
Right.
When I have a ton of things to do, I start thinking differently. I start realigning these things, and it's almost like driving to multiple places, right? You're going to run errands with your wife. You know, where are we going today? Okay, we're going to these 5 places, and immediately my brain goes to, okay, what's the farthest one? What's the closest one? And what's the route to hit everything in between?
That's a brother thing. I do that. Tell me what you want to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to lay out the path.
Yeah.
I'm not going from one side of the town to the other side of the town and back. I'm going to go the most efficient way, and that's a mindset.
Yeah.
Lay it out. I'll do it.
And that's what I think people don't get about guys, for one. But I think even guys amongst guys, where they have different mentalities, they don't see that. You know, I almost threw Nina out of the car yesterday because she wanted to go to 3 different Walmarts.
Again?
Yes. But I just, like we talked about earlier, I'm getting older, right?
Yeah. And you get set.
You get set in your ways, but this is the weird thing. I was thinking this about a couple weeks ago. What people call midlife crisis, to me, I'm like, oh, I'm experiencing it. But it's not so much a midlife crisis. It's more of a midlife reevaluation.
I 100% agree.
And I don't feel in crisis,
right.
But I feel like, like we talked about earlier, initially when I was in my 20s, I took the path of least resistance, right?
Right.
I was going to make a career out of doing things that nobody else wanted to do, and I kind of did that.
I was going to say, you did, yeah.
But now I find myself at a place where I'm like, I'm 46, I'll be 47 soon, and it's like, what do I really want to be doing?
And you need to do that.
Yeah.
You're still young enough. And like I said, I'm 62, and I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Is this what I really want to do? Yeah. Do I want to keep holding on to this? Do you want to try something different?
Yeah.
It's how you feel in your heart, my friend.
Yeah.
You got to go with it.
Now,
go with your guide.
I will say this is the weird thing is I find myself like I think a lot, and sometimes I think I talk myself out of things because I sit there and I go, you know what? I've been doing this for 22 years, 23 years, and it's kind of like I'm at the point now where the thing that I've been doing for 22 years, 23 years, I'm pretty good at it. So then I come to this idea where it's like, do I want to walk away from a skill that I've acquired and that it no longer takes much effort for me to do because I've been doing it so long? And it's almost like, do I walk away from that and go into something completely different because I think I might enjoy that more? Or do I hold on to this and find an avenue to do it somewhat with not so much difficulty and expose myself to hobbies, instead of trying to make a hobby a career where I'm passionate and I love what I'm doing, because like this, because I'll be honest with you, up to maybe a few months ago, didn't have much. I'm not going to say time. I've always had time, but I didn't have much energy for a hobby.
Well, it's making the time to have.
Yeah. And so for me, it's kind of like, well, now that I'm decent at what I do, I can do it kind of effortlessly. I can allocate more mind time to the hobby, right?
Right.
And
so this is your hobby?
So far it's been. Me and Nina were talking the other day. I've got a painting that I haven't finished. I got some floor plans for a garden that I'm in the middle of working on. Sorry, Priscilla, it's taking so long. There's things like that. We were talking actually like 2 days ago. And she's like, you need to finish something. And I say, you know what? She goes, you got this over here, you got that over there. And again, that kind of goes back to, hey, my mind being full of stuff. I need multiple things to be doing. And she goes, you haven't finished any of these things. And I said, I get that. I said, but you know what I have been doing hobby-wise? I said, is this. I said, this has been the most consistent. It's been the most fun. I enjoy it. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass because there's aspects to it that, it's a one-man show, right? So, the setting up, the breaking down, the processing, all that's been fun, but it's like the fun is the conversation. Me and you drinking Celsius, grape, our new favorites.
Right, for sure.
And shooting the shit. And I said, that's what I love doing. I have to do those other things to do the thing that I'm really enjoying. So the hobby part of it is like, it's a lot of fun because even at this, I can sit down with you, shoot the shit for an hour or two, and we did a podcast, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's some people I got to do some research on, and then it kind of comes down to...
But you do, and I've listened to a lot of the podcasts, and you do good research on that.
I try. I really do try. But again, it kind of comes to where, okay, I can do that now because my mind is freed from what I do for a paycheck, right? So to me, it's almost like, well, if I start over in something different that I think I might appreciate, now my mind goes full bore 100% this, and then I go from this wide range of things that I have a mental capacity to handle to now I've got to hyper focus here. Because that's the other problem for me, right? Is if I start something new, I have to be in it 100%. Because I've said 100 times on this damn podcast, I don't do gray area very well.
Right.
I'm either all white or I'm all in or all out, all white or all black. And So when I get into something that I get excited about, I've got to focus on it completely. And it gets to, I get this weird like OCD, like we were talking about.
Say that, but I was holding back.
Yeah, no, it's crazy because like even the camera setup, we changed that. You kind of encouraged me to change that. When you said, "Hey, let's move them," my initial reaction.
Just about to start.
we were already recording.
Yeah.
So all this is fucking recording us moving it around too. But it was funny because my initial thought is no, I can't. And you know why my initial thought is no, I can't, is I'm like, it'll look different.
You got to try it.
And then you actually said, let's try it.
Let's do it.
And
I got up because I knew if I didn't get up, you're not going to get up and do it. So that's why I did that.
So good manipulating of me, Kent, because I like it. The lighting looks better. I think, and again, we've had conversations and I've talked to other people. That's the mentor part. That's the mentor part that I think you're good at, is encouraging people to say, hey, let's move it around a little bit.
Yeah.
And because for me, I have these quirks. I talked to some folks about the gym and stuff. And it's like, I don't have a problem getting to the gym. I don't have a problem being in the gym. My problem is crossing the threshold of the door.
Right.
Moving these cameras around and reconfiguring
From
for this
something
podcast.
You've done 74 times.
74
the same way.
Yeah. And it's hard to it's a thin layer, but it's like I don't want to poke my finger through that.
But we did.
And we did.
And it turned out.
It turned out.
It turned out all right.
But I think that's one thing that you're amazing at.
Appreciate that.
Is being able to, and I think maybe it's life experiences that you're sharing with folks when you do things like that, but to be able to say, hey, I can tell you have some anxiety about this, but let's try it out.
Well, I didn't even give you a chance to say no. I didn't want to.
Yeah.
Because it worked out. And I just was like, let's just try it.
Yeah.
And the reason why it was so dark before, you figured that out.
Yeah.
And so let's switch it up. And it worked out. I think it really worked out. You're the star of this.
No, Kent.
You are.
You guys
you
are.
just bring in people that you like to talk.
I'm just some overweight, overly attractive.
Overly attractive for sure.
Bald, hairy.
Yeah.
Which is odd. How are you bald and hairy? Mexican dude. You guys are the stars.
So just before, when you took your hat off when we were sitting in the other way.
Yeah, I mean.
And you're like, it's you though.
Yeah.
But I always have known you this way, with the hat, always, and shorts.
Well, when I met you, we met through your wife and my wife and their work. So one thing that I learned early on in life is if I wear a hat and I wear it low enough, I can see asses without being caught. So that's where that's
my father-in-law in his sunglasses. We were sitting on a beach in Cancun, and he just gives himself away because he's got this Cheshire cat smile, and I'm like, Mike, don't smile as much. And he just smiles and shakes his head. Dark sunglasses.
You know what's cool about dark sunglasses? You can just look straight, but you can look wherever you need to look.
And never get in trouble.
Never get in trouble. It's funny. I was talking to nephews a while back, and I taught them the side-to-side head move. I said, anytime you see a hot chick and you want to check her out, you do this thing. You look to the left, and then you find something interesting to look at on the right, but you pause. And then you pause, and then you pause. And I said, by the 3 or 4 swipes, you've got a whole mental image of
it. I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes on that one.
I was gonna say I was gonna write a book. How's your book coming along?
It's not. It hasn't moved forward.
Okay.
We've been busy, but I got to move forward. I'm not getting any younger, but I got to do it. I just got to do it and quit talking about it. And so if and I've had a few people, we talked about ghostwriting, but everybody's got busy and things to do. I just need to find that right person that I click with. And I had this one who directed a movie, and she's like, oh, when I'm done with this, I would totally be your ghostwriter. And a great woman. I mean, hell, she wrote a movie. Yeah. And so, but I mean, if success comes, I just need to find that person. And I don't know where to look. I don't know how to look. It's not something that you just Google and there's ads out there, for ghostwriters. So I just need to find that person. So if that person's out there,
Ken needs a ghostwriter.
Come on, bring it on.
I'd ghostwrite for you, but it'd sound like a very inappropriate Quentin Tarantino movie.
As I opened the door and I pulled her panties down accidentally,
But I was not looking. I was doing the head side to side swap.
naturally.
Well, I think that'd be exciting. I hope that when you do it, you do an audiobook, because I'm not much of a reader. But
I totally would.
I would love for you. I think you need if you're writing a book and you do the audio, you need to be reading it.
Well, and I've gone back and listened to stuff that we've talked about along with, your podcast. And I think to myself, do I cuss that much? And I feel bad about it. I feel bad about it, but it's part of like telling a story and the build up and the crescendo, and it's just pops out. And it's not like I'm a trash talking fool. It's passion. It's passion coming out about experiences that I've had. And, sometimes you just got to put that punctuation mark in there by saying, oh, F.
Yeah.
It was the baddest thing in my life.
I don't think you cuss enough, Kent.
Well, and I've become more aware of it, and I think it was either Kelly or my mother-in-law was like, you really, that was on air. That's in public. And you really dropped that F-bomb or use that shit or use that. And I was like, really? I don't even know. It's just kind of.
Well, you're the biggest limousine guy on the planet. I'm just Gabe, but I tell Nina all the time, I'm like, look, I say things a lot of times to be inappropriate. And
Well, it depends on your guests.
That too.
But we've been barbecuing.
Right.
And you say some funny shit things. And I think we had talked about the first time that we met, going back to that really quick. We got invited to a barbecue at your house, and so we parked like on your street, and all of a sudden I hear this like loud blast, like a hot air balloon gonna take off, and how they set up the air and put it on fire. And I'm like, where the hell is that coming from? As we're walking to your house, it's getting louder. And as we get into your driveway, it's you with a propane tank with a flamethrower on it, trying to light charcoal. And I was like, I've never seen that. That's so badass.
Most efficient way.
It was incredible. And you had shorts on, rubber boots, maybe an apron, but a hat. And we clicked right from that moment. I was like, this is going to be one of my brothers, I can tell.
One of the funny things is our neighbor's daughter and son are getting bigger. But when they were little, when they heard the torch come on, they would run outside, and the dad would have to bring them to the house. And they'd take turns. I'd hold it for them, but they'd take turns pretending to hold it. And they loved it.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And I see other people now have done that, and I'm more of a gas cooker, unfortunately. But when you break out that, I was like, never seen that before in my life.
Well, let me tell you what. They do it a lot back home. But to me, there's such good flavor off of firewood.
Right.
And so,
is that what you were lighting, that charcoal?
Oh yeah,
firewood?
It was there may have been some charcoal in it, but I probably had a log of like mesquite on it too.
Okay.
So my thing is, I can't stand waiting for wood to catch, right, and make coals.
Right.
So I would use this torch to get it going. So they kind of had the speed of gas with the flavor of wood and mesquite. So I've made burgers on that thing. I've had people go, what did you put on this? What spices are you using? And I'll go pick up a log of mesquite and I'll go, this is what you're tasting. It's literally the smoke out of the wood. But so good. Speaking of not so good, I'm going to throw Nina out there real quick. So yesterday I was making this really good, finely aged backstrap. I say finely aged because I found it in the back of the freezer from 2019.
You said something about that. Did I read that?
You may have. And so Nina won't eat it. She won't touch it.
But you said in the last line, it's going to get ate.
It's still going to get ate. And so I threw some spices on it, cooked it with a little pan with a little bit of butter. And I was a little apprehensive because it was so old. But
and freezer burned?
No, freezer burn. Because I vacuum seal it and all that good stuff, so it didn't have any freezer burn to it.
That was the picture as I'm reading what you were doing. I'm like, old ass piece of backstrap, freezer burn.
It was amazing. I cooked it perfect. And I did it on accident because I don't know how to make things, right? I just kind of throw it on there, look at it, and go, that looks about good. It was a little pink, but it was so soft.
Really?
And so I cut a little piece off. I ate it, and then Nina was making a brisket. Well, Nina, let me see. Yeah. She throws this, it's a little tiny brisket that we had. It was just a piece cut off that we got from like butcher box or something. She threw it in there and I said, how long do we need to leave it in there? She always makes the brisket. She's like, hours. And I said, okay. She pulled it out. And so I was watching 90 Day Fiance and I hear her going, our knives are too dull. I'm like, use a different knife. She's like, I can hardly cut this. I was like, what is she talking about? So I went to the kitchen. I got a piece.
Are you talking about the brisket?
Yes.
Okay.
It was like trying to eat a fucking rubber boot.
The
flavor was nice. By the time,
chewy.
I think I can't. I'm not joking with you. It stretched about 4 to 6 inches when I was trying to chew it.
No way.
So she apologized. We ended up didn't give it to the dogs because they'll choke. But we got rid of it. But luckily, we had that fucking deer. But
she ate it?
No, she won't touch. She took a bite. She said it was okay because she didn't like that kind of stuff. But
it's a mindset, just like fish with me.
Yeah.
It's a mindset, I'm sure.
Did you ever have fish?
I've tried everything, and I've tried it over multiple times. And I think it's the texture and the fishiness that I just don't have a palate for. I just don't. And like my buddy Robbie, we've been all over, and he's the oyster guy. And,
does he eat them raw?
Oh my gosh. Ugh. Like crazy. And I'm like, yeah, I'll try it again. So it's all like, how can I get this whole cracker and this oyster and a little bit of horseradish sauce, bite it once and just swallow it?
That's gross.
You just gotta eat it. And if you're really like, okay, I don't want to taste this thing, so I'm just gonna like swallow it. So I'm good at doing that.
I got a friend of mine. I met her through the podcast. She's a nurse and nurse practitioner. And she was talking about oysters. She's like, I love eating raw oysters. I think that's disgusting. That's like sucking down a loogie.
It is.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
And then they're all like, oh, they're this kind and that kind, and I mean, one snot ball's the same as the
I was
next.
gonna say one booger's this.
That's it. I'm just like, well, how do you even know that? And it's like, my buddy opens our eyes to different foods, and so he gets on these different kicks. And we went on a foie gras.
What is that?
Foie gras is duck liver.
Okay.
And they make it into like a patty. And I mean, in the patties I've seen, it takes a hell of a lot of ducks to make that little patty.
So is it like mush?
It's
that
mush.
Texture? Okay.
It reminds me of
Potted meat.
Worse.
Ooh.
Almost cat foodish.
Oh.
But like a paste.
And expensive.
Very. And, we've tried it down at Bohannon's. I mean, we've been in Carmel and tried it. Well, he's just digging it.
Yeah.
And there I'm just like, spread it on a cracker very thinly. And it's like, it's duck liver.
Does it taste like beef liver? Is it similar to that kind of
I don't know.
irony?
I've never tasted it. I just swallowed it. Again, with the oyster thing.
Oh, no.
And it's like, it's a mindset. No matter what, it's a mindset.
I'm a texture person, too. I get grossed out at texture. Like, if I bite a cold onion, it's coming out. I can't do
I love
cold
cold
onion. Oh, I can do them when they're sauteed and kind of translucent. I'll force it down because the flavor's good. But if I'm biting a cheeseburger and I hit something crunchy, it's a wrap.
No, see, I'm the opposite.
No,
I mean, put me a big ass thick piece of onion on there, and when I do that at home, it's like I clean out the kitchen. Nobody is like, "You're doing that damn onion again." I can smell it.
One of the funny things was when I first met Nina, we went to her dad's house, and he was making. She calls them shitlins, but he was making chitlins, and that's. I guess cow intestine, pig intestine. I don't know, because we eat 3 pies, right?
Is that what that is?
Yeah, and so it's he was cleaning them out, and we walked in the front door. It was wintertime several years ago, and I grabbed her by the back of the shirt and I stopped her and I said, "Stop!" And she said, "What?" I said, "Check your shoes." She's like, "What do you mean check my shoes?" I said, "One of us stepped in shit." And so like I'm checking my shoes, she's checking her shoes. She's like, my dad's making chitlins. And sure enough, he had a pot over there. He was rinsing them out. I was like, oh, so bad. But
there's not enough spices.
No, I'm not doing that. What's the worst thing Robbie's made you eat? I say made you eat, but you know.
Probably the foie gras was right up there. Oh, octopus.
Okay.
Like the tentacles. Like we were at Signature one night, and it was like called barbecue octopus, and so they bring out this like square thing, and it's like French fries coming out of it, but they're octopus.
How was it? Because I think I've been wanting it.
I couldn't do it.
Really?
And he said they were a little bit too like charbroiled. They were too like overcooked. But we've been to places where, he always, they both, Tammy and him, always get, foie gras. They'll get octopus, and nobody makes it the same, so it's all different. And I've tried it a couple times. I think it's that rubbery thing with octopus.
That's what I've heard. That
I'm not really into. And then they make them where I guess they literally slice up the legs or the tentacles, and they fry them up like onion rings.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, you can't jack me on onion rings.
I've been wanting to try grilled octopus. I'm not gonna lie. So when you said that, that sounds interesting.
You'll probably love it.
I'll probably like it. I have seen videos. I think it's in Japan where they're eating these octopus and they're eating them alive. Have you seen that?
Yes.
And the tentacles are sticking.
What the hell is that about, man?
There's something hot about that, but at the same time, kind of gross.
No.
But.
If that's all I had to live on, man, I'd be like 185 pounds. I guarantee you, I'd be in shape.
What's your go-to meal?
My go-to meal. I mean, I'm a simple guy. I love hot dogs.
Yeah.
I love hamburgers. I regulate what I eat, and I try not to eat too many hamburgers. I'm a steak guy.
Yeah.
So pork chops. I make a hellacious, grilled pork chop, deep fried pork chop.
I love you.
I'm simple though.
Yeah.
And I'll adventure when I'm out, with Rob and Tam and Kelly will too. But there's always that, we're looking at the appetizer list. And what I love about them, going out with them, Robbie and Tammy, is they'll look at the appetizers and Robbie will go, yeah. And the waitress or waiter's like, yeah? Give us one of each. Let's try it out.
Robbie might be my new favorite person.
Oh, you guys got to get together. And he's he would be great on this team.
I'd love to have him on.
Oh my gosh. I mean, the experiences that he's had and where he came from, where he went to, and then went down to and built himself back up. Like, besides spiritually, mentally, he is my mentor.
Yeah.
And he'll say that about me too. And I'm like, dude, I'm nothing. I'm nothing.
No, Kent, you're the shit, Kent.
I have my days, but...
Let me tell you what, when you're talking about your employees earlier and how they'll come and they'll sit in your office, one thing that I think, like, I'm a rare breed in the sense that I'm the shit, but I know I'm the shit. You, I think, are the type of person who's the shit, but you don't realize it. Let me tell you something. And I'm going to say this like a complete jackass, but I'm being 100% honest. You are fucking Kent Mantle. When people that I know, when we talk about Kent Mantle, we all have the same reaction. It's excitement. It's, you can tell there is a pleasure in knowing you. Okay. We get that from each other. When you talk about your employees sitting in your office, I can guarantee you that you have people that work for you guys that can't wait to talk to you. You have people in your office that can't wait to get some of your time, some of your information.
And I can't wait to talk to them. It's a two-way street.
Well, that's the shit about you, Kent. Like, you are the most
bullshitting guy you've ever met.
Well, there's that, but you really do appreciate people.
I do.
And people appreciate that in you. You know, there's so many people that I see and that I come across, and they don't have the same interaction with folks that you do. And a lot of times I'll see that. And one thing that I think I've gotten better at as I get older is I'm able to take myself out of a situation and look at it from a different perspective and go, maybe this is what's happening. Maybe this is why so-and-so was an asshole that day. Maybe this is why so-and-so didn't return phone calls, or maybe this is why so-and-so didn't do X, Y, and Z. There's so much dependent on you and the people that work with you, but there's so much on you in the sense that you have to do your job well. If you don't do your job well, other people can't do their job well, and then you start losing business, and then people start losing jobs, and that's families losing money.
It's a trickle down.
That's a massive responsibility to take on when you become a business owner and you start hiring people. You know, is the fact that, that you get excited, you're doing cool things, you're making money, you're gaining status in your industry, but then there's that, oh shit, I didn't realize how many people are dependent on me. And now there's the reality of that, you know.
I realize that.
There's a fear in that, right?
Yes.
Of not making the correct moves because there's so many people that we're all tethered together,
right.
You know. And if I become a weight and not a flotation device, we're all gonna drown.
Right.
So there's that portion to it. So a lot of people stop there, you know, and I don't. A lot of people stop there in the sense that they say, I don't have time for you. I'm too busy keeping us afloat. You don't do that.
No. And again, that's why my partner and I, it's kind of like a good cop, bad cop. And I'll forever be the good cop, no matter what.
Well, you make a great good cop.
But he, and I understand his it's a lot. It's a lot to run this monster financially wise.
Yeah.
When you have 191 vehicles, you got insurance. It's $1.9 million a year.
Wow.
You got payroll. You got the electricity. And thank God, I mean, that was his forte, you know, when we joined forces together. He knew how to do that. And where maybe I wasn't the best money, you know, I mean, we paid our bills and stuff, but we always had fun. And I'll tell the story. So when I took over the business, it was probably, so it started in 1988, and I actually took it over 100%, like right about, you know, the end of 1989. And so the first month that we did $10,000, I thought I was the shit, you know, and I went in and woke up Kelly and was like, oh my God, this is going to work out, you know, and I did the books myself, and I drove a lot. I had a couple drivers. I was like, we made $10,000. We didn't make $10,000, but we did $10,000. I mean, yeah, it cost me, you know, $8,000 to make that 10. But I really thought, oh my God, we are the shit. We've hit it. And now we'll do $10,000 before 9 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
It's stupid to look back on what happened, you know, and the motivation of that to lead to like, it's crazy, and I'm serious. By 9 o'clock in the morning, yeah. As the machine grows, the machine eats.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm glad that's George's deal. He's good at it, and he's got a lot of things. He's got a lot of irons in the fire, you know. And besides just elegant, where I mainly focus on, you know, the sales part of it, the experiences.
When did you and George get into bed together?
1997.
Okay.
It was like right after the Final Four. I think it was the first time the Final Four had been to San Antonio. And I got burned for a lot of money by a huge pharmaceutical company.
Oh, you did tell me about
60
that.
grand.
Yeah.
You know, and so I was at a weak point, and, you know, it merged together. It was good. We knew our places. You know,
was that strategic, do you think, or was it?
It was
it
God
just
driven, I think,
right.
that put us together.
Okay.
Because he needed somebody and I needed somebody at that time. And we're kind of two polar opposites, but it works out. Yeah. It's just like your relationship with people. You know, my wife and I are polar opposites. You know, I have a daughter that's her. I have a daughter that's me.
Me and Nina are the exact same person. I think that's why we grind gears so bad.
Probably so.
It was so funny because I came out of the shower the other day. No, it was this morning. I woke up and my left nostril was congested. She comes out of the bedroom and she says, I think my right nostril's congested. And I was like, we're the same fucking person. And you know what's interesting is you guys, you and George being so opposite like that. You're strong where he's weak. He's strong where you're weak. But you're both strong. So together, that makes quite a team.
It does.
Me and Nina, we're both weak in the same places. We're both strong in the same places. And I think that's why when we don't have a common enemy, so to speak, we grind gears, because we're the same person. So a lot of times in just that relationship in general, it's like the things that I see in her that I don't like, I usually don't like them because I know they're my traits too.
Right.
And that irritates me.
And I know couples like that. I know couples that are exact opposites, and I know exactly what you're saying.
How are they doing?
The two peas in the pod. And I mean, and thank God.
Well, you know what 2 peas in a pod gets me and Nina? It's like what do they say? Fighting in a telephone booth. That's our 2 peas in a pod. We're fighting in a telephone booth.
You would never know it though. You would never know it.
We do a good job of it,
right?
But at the same time, there's a lot of elbows thrown.
I'm sure, and she wins every time.
Well, because she's got lower center of gravity, Ken.
I love that girl. She's amazing. She's amazing. But it's how you, and we keep referring back to the culture of it. Mm-hmm. What you were telling me about yours, and it's, and I'm just gonna say it. It's not a very healthy culture.
Yeah.
From what you're living now. And again, I'll say, if you don't like what you're doing, don't do it.
Yeah.
Why get up?
And that's the hard part.
It is hard to separate when you have that blanket of security.
Yeah.
But, and we talked about different things that you could go out and do.
What you said before, like you said earlier, and I think this is where I'm getting to, is the older I get, the more I go, oh, fuck, I forgot I'm not going to live forever. And so that starts to turn into, what am I doing? I talked to a friend the other day, maybe a couple, but I was telling him it's so ridiculous that I have anxiety about making moves when it's just me and Nina. We didn't have kids.
Right.
We have no real anything tethering us to anything.
Right.
It's taken a while to sit there and go. It's almost like when you're so tethered to a career or a lifestyle or just your life in general. It's hard to realize when you're free to do whatever you want to do, and it's like,
and you can,
you
can, but you do get comfortable, and that's what people.
And that's
call
the
it.
problem.
You're comfortable,
and
you have this income coming in, and if you're going to try something else, definitely have a couple months of income so you can wait this out a little bit. You got to try. But if you don't stick your foot in the water, you're never going to know. And I want you to know.
Yeah.
You deserve to be happy. And I mean, I wish you could make a living off of doing this. You're badass.
You and me too, Ken. One day. I need to
know?
figure out that part of it too, because I really do enjoy this. I think one thing that I really like is when I get feedback from people that go, hey, I listened to that one and that one really connected with me.
Right.
Hey, I didn't know this person existed and I need that resource. Like to me,
you do that.
I get a high off of that. I get super excited and that motivates me to do more of them.
Right. Well, the interesting part is like the variety from the nun to the state trooper.
Yeah.
I mean, that was some interesting stuff. And I was so intrigued about how you handled yourself with that. You remember the sister, the nun?
Yeah.
And I just had to listen to it to see how many times you were going to cross the line. And you did very well. You held it up. And so, and to hear the passion of that state trooper, was a whole nother thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but
yeah, it was I I've got on the tip of my
Good
tongue.
guy, though.
Yeah.
Good
We're going to
guy.
do another one. He's
Good.
reached out to me. And you know, it's interesting because I've been very fortunate that, like, people say, how do you know these people? And I say, a lot of them I just know. And some people, it's just a random Instagram or
Right.
Facebook, hey, I got a podcast in this area, and if you're ever in the area, let's do one.
Yeah.
You know? And it's been so humbling to a certain degree that people were willing to come to a stranger and have a conversation, you know, and sometimes a pretty deep one, you know. And so in that sense, I've been super, super lucky. I will say this, one thing that I'm starting to come across that I find very interesting is I've always heard of shadow banning. You know what shadow banning is?
No.
I'm going to screw it up, but I think shadow banning is when the platform algorithms see what you're saying or putting out, and they kind of suppress it so it doesn't get viewed. So
Really?
I'll tell you something funny. YouTube is real funny. So Victor Avila is running for Congress in West Texas, 23rd district. We did our second podcast last weekend, and he talks a lot about the border. He talks a lot about the current administration. He talks about cartels and
Is that out? You haven't put that out?
yeah, it's out.
Okay.
It's the last one before this one, and then we did another one several months ago, or maybe a year ago. But Victor's story in a nutshell is he used to work for the federal government, I guess ICE in Mexico. Him and his partner got sent to go pick up some equipment in Mexico. Got stopped by the Zeta cartels, shot up. He got shot, and his partner died. So interesting story. He's running for Congress. And it's funny
I think I've read
because
about him.
he the first one we did hardly got any views on YouTube. Got a lot of views on Rumble. And then the last one we put out, I was telling Nina, I said I put it out at night. The next morning I checked and it had a handful of views. And I said, okay, that's not bad for overnight. So mid-morning, I think it was Friday as a matter of fact, mid-morning I go and I check and it has no views. And I was like, that's weird. How do you go from a handful of views to no views?
So you think it was suppressed?
Well, I come back later on that day and it had 3 views. I think it's stuck at 6 now. And it's funny because I told Nina, I was like, it's very interesting because the topics he talk about are pretty controversial.
Right.
I said, I just never really, I've heard of people talking about it. And it's so interesting because I listen to some podcasts and they will, it's weird to hear them because they have a conversation, but you can see them working around topics and words. And they kind of just tongue in cheek, hey, you know, we don't want to get blah, blah, blah. And so it's funny because I told Nina, I said, it's so weird because now with like some of Victor's topics that he talks about, I'm starting to see what they're talking about. But at the same time, I'm not a fan of working around that kind of thing, right? I mean, it's a give and take, right? It's like signing up for a neighborhood. They got an HOA dues, right? You sign the paperwork. Oh yeah, you got to pay the dues. You know, can't complain about it every time you pay dues. But at the same time, it's kind of like it's very interesting. So now I've got to put them on Rumble. Rumble, I think, does that less. But it's so interesting to see how some topics and some podcasts really kind of get suppressed.
And how does Joe Rogan do that?
He's on Spotify.
Oh.
So I think this is a YouTube thing. Okay. So I think it's strictly Spotify. Now they'll take clips and they'll put them on YouTube. So he's got little clips on YouTube. Right. But again, he's also Joe Rogan. So he's so top dog, man.
And so we're blessed in Austin. We do a lot of his guests.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, which is really cool. And I didn't even know about it until one of my drivers from San Antonio had to go up and do one. He's like, oh my God, they invited me in, had a whole cooler, like soft drinks and everything. They had the podcast up on the screen, you know, which they were actually doing in the other room. And I was like, no way, when did we start doing that? I didn't even know it. So that's one guy I really want to meet.
Yeah.
Is him.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, just a powerhouse.
And his comedy venues, they're sold out all the time.
It's rocking all the time. And we take people over there too. So.
And you know, that's one of the things, and it kind of I was alluding to earlier where, you know, being inappropriate, A lot of times I tell Nina and other people, I said a lot of times I'll be inappropriate so that people know it's okay to be inappropriate. It might bite me in the ass one day, and I'm sure it will. But at the same time, it's kind of like I've always been that way, you know. And a lot of you ask my friends, and they'll go, "Can't I get away with some of the most ridiculous things that I do and say?" And it's funny because everybody that knows me goes, "He's always like that." You know.
Yeah.
It was funny. Nina was telling me she had a friend. I'll send people inappropriate stuff, you know. And
you have me too.
And it's funny because one of Nina's friends said, "I'm gonna have to talk to your husband and quit sending me that because I feel like it's disrespectful to you." And I told Nina was telling me about it, and I said, "First of all, tell your friend that went to like 50 other people, so
Just wasn't picking up.
just her,
Too funny.
guys, girls, everything." But the cool thing about Rogan's deal is that comedy venue. I've watched it online, some of the things they do, and it's there's so much inappropriateness to it. It's beautiful because we kind of got to this weird thing where people were afraid to even say things.
So sensitive.
Overly
It's
sensitive.
so crazy.
And so that kind of place, people are slowly venturing to it, and I think it's starting to expand, you know, across social media to where people are kind of getting more comfortable with not being quite so sensitive about things.
And back to being comfortable about it.
Right.
We were.
Yeah.
We were with this one kind of people. And where did it change? Not that I want to get political and into all that, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it at all. So, I got to hold my ground, you know, and basically all the friends that I hang out with, we're in the same mindset. And we've all said this. What the hell?
Yeah.
When did we make that left-hand turn? And who allowed that to happen?
Yeah. Well, I
You
think
know,
we did.
We do know. But what are we going to do about it? And when's it going to end? And all that. And you know.
And in my ignorant opinion, the only thing to do about it is continue to be inappropriate. You know.
I agree.
I'm
with you then.
People can't stand Kid Rock, you know, because he's, for some reasons, that he stands on certain sides of things. But it's so funny because when they went after Kid Rock, I forgot what it was, he basically said, "F you."
Yeah.
You know, and I told Nina, I said, you know what's interesting is when the behavior police come in to try and shut you down, when you pushed back a little bit, they move on to the next one.
Right.
It literally is the old adage of punching a bully in the face. You know, they'll move on because
I believe it.
they don't want that fight.
Right.
But yeah, I think we're kind of getting away from it. We see it a lot in the, like I was telling you, the trainings that we do at work.
Right.
There's more and more of that coming up, and so it's interesting.
You got to do it more?
Yeah. We have more trainings that came up here recently. Actually, I got to do them by the end of the month. But there's some more things in there that are questionable, you know. And it's so interesting because it just feels like, I was telling you, I had some friends that were fired for not taking the trainings.
Right.
And one thing that I've kind of found
It'd be illegal. How can that? Is that a law? What is up with that? If you do not want to take that,
yeah.
and you don't believe in it, why should it be stuffed down your throat?
Well, I think they ended up firing the ones that got fired, and they just called it insubordination because they wouldn't take the trainings or whatever. But, you know, one of the guys made a good point in the sense that he says, if I don't agree with this and I just take it to get along, I'm contributing to a problem.
100%.
You know? And it was funny because that made me feel like shit because I took it. And I told him, I said, I watched that shit a few times because I thought it was hilarious.
Totally. I'm sure. And I've never seen one, but I guarantee you, I'd be that guy just like you. Inappropriate through the whole goddamn
I was like, y'all got to come see this. But you know, I have integrity, Kent. I'm just also a dirtbag. So some stuff I think's hilarious, and I got to see it once or twice.
And there's stuff that you can't get stuffed down your throat. You have to look at the funnier side of it.
Yeah.
And with us being a little bit of warped minds,
Yeah.
that's when you kind of make fun of it.
Yeah.
And you laugh at it. And then people get so sensitive about it. And I mean, We weren't allowed as kids to be sensitive.
Right.
You did what you were told to do. You say yes, sir. No, ma'am. If not, you got in trouble.
Yeah.
Where did that go? Where did it go?
I had a conversation. I love her to death. She's my barber. And a lot of times I say things to her because she and I think, if we sat down and wrote down our likes and dislikes, we would be very different. But I like being around people who are very different. Mm-hmm. And so we were having a conversation just the other day when I was getting beautified. And we were talking about sensitivity or something. And I think she stands more on the side of, hey, people shouldn't be so abrasive, because they're going to hurt somebody's feelings. And I told her, I said, look.
I can only wait. Hardly wait to hear this.
I behaved because she was trimming my beard and I couldn't look terrible. But I said, you know what? I said, there is nobody on the planet that can hurt my feelings if they do, it's because I allowed it. I said, the people that I love are the only ones who can hurt my feelings, and they won't hurt my feelings. I said, everybody else doesn't make a shit. If it's some random person that I don't even know, the fuck do I care?
Yeah. Everybody has their opinion. Yeah. Whatever.
And she, it was funny because she kind of paused for a second because she goes, well, and then she goes, well, I mean, yeah. It's kind of one of those things.
Yeah.
And, I tell everybody, my dad gave me so much good advice. Some of it was unwanted, but I got it anyway.
Right.
But one of the ones, and I've said it before, I came home one day, I was upset. I was a little kid. And I told him how I didn't like somebody. And it was probably something stupid. They didn't play with me or be nice to me. I don't know. And I remember my dad was an older dad by the time I was a kid. And he says, he goes, not everybody has to like you. Go hang out with the kids that do like you. And it was such a simple statement. But there's a handful of those things where as I've grown up, I've gone, oh, why am I sweating this person?
Yeah.
Granted, the people that love me heckle me the most. But that was one of those things where, as a kid, I go, well, then why am I worried about somebody if we're not friends, And that was my statement to her is people aren't going to hurt you unless you let them.
You're not going to make people like you.
Yeah.
And you're not going to let people change your opinions about what you believe in versus what they believe in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a dead-end, bull-to-bull, deer-horn to deer-horn fight that is nobody's going to win.
Yeah.
I mean, if people have their beliefs, all it's going to end up is in an argument.
Right.
Trying to push your beliefs on them. So say your piece, and then hear my piece, and we walk away as friends.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it gets to stupidity, and what we see on TV, and I mean, it's a shame. I'm really feeling bad about it.
It's funny because this girl, I think we've had conversations, light conversation, nothing too crazy, nothing too heavy, but there's times where we'll talk, and it's kind of like, I can tell we're probably on two different spectrums, but it's funny because I love to like touch those walls, those boundaries, and go, okay, that's where we are at, But it's funny because I tell people, if you spend enough time with somebody, you realize you have so much more in common. She and I have the same inappropriate thoughts and ideas and conversations, and we talk about stupid stuff, and we both like to do the same kinds of things. And it's funny because when we talk about like political things or we talk about people's feelings, I can tell that's kind of where we're on two different sides of the fence, but the majority of it is we're the same fucking person.
Yeah.
And we just have to allow ourselves to interact with each other enough to realize how much we have in common.
Right.
So
everybody's not going to have the same beliefs. That. I mean, it's just, but to find that common ground, and then going back to culture.
Yeah.
When you're trying to feel out somebody during an interview, when they become your employee, and they can trust you enough to come in. We may not have the same views, but everybody needs advice.
Well, I guess that's one thing that I wanted to ask you too. Everything you've just said, do you think that supersedes a lot of the superficial things that people hang on to? Because like we talked about earlier, Elite has a culture, but those cultures, even though maybe the core is the same, they're not going to be the same between Austin and Corpus, right?
No.
Victoria and Austin are not the same type of people, So those cultures, they vary, right? The core might be the same. but there's all the other aspects to that culture that are completely different. So do you find it difficult to, I guess, keep the machine rolling, or are those core cultural aspects to y'all's business what binds everything? And is it easier to say, you know what, this is how we treat people, this is how we do things, this is how we respect our equipment and each other, and everything outside of that is just local flavor, right? Is that kind of what it is?
That's a great way to put it. Definitely so. I mean, everybody, say during their training, I make them ride with a couple different senior chauffeurs. And it's not, I don't have a set A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4. I let people build their own way to do it. Nobody's the same. I don't want robots.
Right.
So you spend 5 hours with this guy one day. You spend 6 hours with this guy another day. And then a third senior chauffeur comes in, and nobody's the same. But I want to give you the freedom to find your groove, find where that would work for you, and take everybody's. And I definitely, like I was telling you about the future of training, I want to go out, and I want to be the last one that takes them out. And not that I'm perfect in any way of showing how to do what we do, but I think once you see the three other aspects of it and you get to me, I'm more like the training manual, and I want you to compare what these other three guys or girls, how they're doing it. And I tell them, if you think you could, throw me advice. I mean, even though you're still in training, if you feel that something needs to be tweaked, or and it's not rocket science.
Sure.
It's service. All we're selling is service. I want it to be a nice car. I want it to be a wholesome, good-hearted person that's driving them, that cares. And again, you can't teach somebody to have a personality. You can't teach them to care, but you can give them the tools and set them in the right direction. And I mean, especially I don't want you to treat somebody that we're picking up on the south side different than somebody that just flew in on a $60 million jet. And actually they're going to, but I still want you to understand the blending of what we do. I mean, you may be driving somebody, we do a lot of hospital stuff where we're driving homeless. And then your next thing, you're driving the CEO of IBM. And how do you go from one to the other in a mindset of how do you treat each, I want you to treat that homeless person with respect. Everybody gets down on their luck. Know where I'm going?
I guess what I'm gathering from what you're saying is the interaction between me and the CEO versus me and the guy on the south side of town is going to be very different, but their experience with us should be the same.
Exactly.
They should both leave there going, man, I was treated with respect. I had a great ride. I felt cared for,
right,
and I'm going to use them again.
It doesn't matter if my car's worth more than your house.
Right.
I want you to feel special. You were spending good money with me that you earned, versus the CEO, again, on a $60 million jet that is making more in a year than you will in a lifetime. I just want him to feel respected too.
Yeah.
But I also, and we come across it all the time, where my people aren't getting the respect. They're full of themselves. And I guess it's such the routine thing, out of a jet, into a car, go to a meeting, into the car, back to the jet, onto another city. Doing that so repetitive, I think people get callous after a while.
And that's one thing that, kind of talking about earlier, we have to be good at taking ourselves out of a situation, right? When you talk about somebody like that, immediately I think I get to go home at the end of the day. I get to do my routine. I get to kick my dogs and fight with my wife, mm-hmm, and watch my TV shows and sleep in my own bed. Where somebody like that may not have been home for a week.
Right.
You know, maybe hasn't seen loved ones in a long time, and the majority of their interactions are temporary.
Right.
You know, so I mean,
They're
there's
just trying to get it done as quickly as they
Right.
possibly can.
right. But you know, even in the industry that I'm in, whether I'm talking to, if I'm talking to my buddy Rich, that's a different conversation than if I'm talking to a contractor, and that's a different conversation than if I'm talking to the owner or an architect on the project, right? Those conversations all look the same, but the
They're not.
the interactions are similar in the sense that I'm listening to you, we're having a conversation, and I'm giving you some sign of respect. You know, if I'm talking to you as an owner or an architect, you know, I'm giving you the respect in the sense that I'm having a conversation with you in a manner that isn't ridiculous and you know, being stupid, and I'm conveying information to you because I know your time's important. So I know you've got other things to do today. Let's get to the point. Let's share this information. And here you go. Now, my buddy Rich, I show him that respect by picking on him.
Right.
Telling him ugly things, because that's our interaction, right?
Right.
It's one of those things, and I'm sure you're aware of it. It's like, if we're not, there's people in your life where if we're not hacking on each other, something's wrong.
Right. What's the matter with you?
What's going on? Right. So it's important that those interactions are all, whatever that respect looks like, it's given, right? You're not always going to get it back, but I tell people that I talk to, a lot of times people say, well, I'm not going to respect that person because they didn't respect me. I got a friend who's brutal at that. If you did something wrong to her 25 years ago, she knows it. She doesn't remember. She doesn't remember what it was, but she knows that feeling that she had, you know. And then so she'll hold on to that, right? But you've got to let those things go. You know, you can't hold on to that stuff. And that's one thing that I think I do a good job of, is just kind of letting those things go. Don't let interactions, you know, upset you. Don't hold on to those things. I was going to go somewhere else with that story, but I kind of screwed that up.
I know a lot of people that hold, but I think they're genuinely unhappy inside, because how can you do that?
Yeah.
You know, and that's got to be such a burden to know that you have to feel that way about somebody because they maybe have hurt your feelings 20 years ago. I mean, we're all not the same people as we were.
Yeah.
You know, a week ago, a year ago, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and the maturity and experience totally feed into that. Yeah. You know, and you may have one mindset, you know, and a year from now, you're a totally different person. So you can't hold that grudge.
Yeah. Some things that I tell people now that I feel like I've learned this over time is when people decide to interact with somebody a certain way because of how they've treated them in the past, I try and tell them, look, man, you need to behave this way, not because of how they've treated you, but it's because that's the type of man or the type of woman you want to be, right? If somebody mistreats you regularly, that's not cool, right? If you can get yourself out of a situation, get out of it. But don't treat them negatively because they've treated you negatively. If you want to be a good man, if you want to be a good woman, just treat them like you treat everybody else.
100%.
Because you're doing it for
expect
yourself.
To be treated.
Yeah, you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for them. So.
And then people, you know, but people, in a lot of things that we encounter, you know, in my business, they will not give that same respect back.
Right.
You know, they want you to know that they are this person. And one of the worst things I hate people to tell me, either be in person or on the phone, don't you know who I am? Oh, I just want to throat punch people when they do that to me.
You get that a lot?
More than I would have ever expected, you know, and I got it early in my career, and I just thought, oh, that person's an asshole, whatever. But it's amazing how many people do throw that out there.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, why would you even have to say that? Did I cross a line and not treat you with respect?
Yeah.
That you had to call me out on, you know, you don't know who I am? Don't you know who I am? I'm going to treat everybody the same way.
Yeah.
You know, I may treat the Queen of England a little bit different, or somebody that I have super high respect for, an inner super fan or whatever. But pretty much, and I think a lot of my success and what is catapulted down through my troops is that treat people like you want to be treated. I mean, if you wake up in a bad mood, you got to put that aside because again, you're service oriented. You're representing San Antonio. You have to feel this in you, but everybody has their bad days.
Yeah.
And if you are just that wrought up or you're going to have that bad a day, I got somebody that'll do your job that day, but you can come back in tomorrow.
Yeah.
Everybody has those days, and I get it. I do understand it, and there's nothing that's going to change it, and you have to deal with it day by day. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not everybody, and I'm not always psyched every day, and there's days that I'd rather just lay here in bed and, not do this, but I got to get up, and I got to go do it. And so it's your mind frame in the morning, that you gotta weigh yourself through. You gotta get past it, and as hokey as it sounds, it's I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna have a good day. Is it like a romper room saying, let's have a beautiful day? Well, sometimes on the way to work, you just gotta okay, I'm gonna do this.
As you've at this point in your career, what are some things that you do to keep yourself in the game? As far as are you changing your diet, your health, what do you do to keep yourself in it mentally? Because we get tired, our bodies start aching, we slow down, but at the same time, the industry that you're in, the physicality is not as great as your mental capacity. So what do you do to keep your mind right that way? Because again, when you walk into work, everybody's watching Kent Mantle, and so is there something that you do? Is there a process? There's a mindset that you maintain
When you walk into work every day, I go to everybody in my office and either hug them, shake their hand, say hello, good morning, how's your day, what's going on? Everyone in my office.
That's awesome.
And so that's just part of the deal. But that's me, and I'm a hugger.
Yeah.
And it's my business partner went to me, you got to watch that. We could get sued for sexual harassment. This girl's worked for us for 10 years. I mean, she would think something's wrong with me for not hugging her.
Right.
Or not shaking his hand, or, bringing in tacos or donuts, or, you get into a pattern with people and they expect that. But I think they don't take advantage of it because it's an interaction.
Right.
And it's not only building loyalty for them to me, it's me to them too.
Right.
And I care about them. And it's how you set the day. That one person may walk in, and exactly about my business partner. I set the tone 99% in a positive way. And he's kind of different, good cop, bad cop. I can read him like a book when he walks in that door. And I know what kind of day I'm going to have with him by that facial, and what, just as the aura that he brings in that room when he walks in the door. And so if it's an aura I don't like, or I know it's going to be a long day, I'll go in and confront him. And he hates it. I had a tough night. So, thank God he's the kind of guy that takes care of things overnight. And so when we move things between city to city, and he has stepped up, and that's just his thing.
Yeah.
He likes to do that logistical part of it, and it's part of the behind the scenes thing. And so it's like this weekend. This is the first time I've had Formula One weekend off, and this is the 12th one. And so we've worked it, and he's walked away from it, years past. And now it was time. I didn't want to miss this party, my friend's party, Tammy and Robbie's party. And so he's left me alone the whole weekend, which is really, really good. But I know I'm going to pay for it weeks down the road here. Weeks down the road, because it was an intense, and hell, I guess the race just got over, and I can feel my pocket vibrate. Boom, 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 boom. I know something's going on, but I have not looked at it.
Well, I won't keep you too much longer, Kent, but I do want to ask you this or convey this to you. I think you recognizing that in him and you immediately confronting the situation is an asset to your employees. I've worked for people before where, and at multiple places, where when they got off the elevator, they came in the front door, you knew what kind of day you were going to have.
Right.
And it builds anxiety in the staff. Your morale changes because they know, oh, fuck, you know. I've worked for people who've come in the front door yelling.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they already got phone calls on the way to work. They're coming in, something's missing, something didn't go out, and they're coming in yelling, you know, and it just
sets the tone for
sets
the whole
the tone.
day, if not the week.
It ruins the culture. It ruins morale. You know, we were talking earlier in my last review. I told my department manager, I said, morale is non-existent. You know, and I even kind of, oh, cocky bastard kid.
That is a deep.
I even told him, I said, you know what I'm going to do for you? This is me being cocky bastard. I said, everywhere I've ever been, I am the fucking morale. I said, for you, I'll give it back to you. I'll come back and I'll change it a little bit. I said, because right now, morale's non-existent.
Right.
People are not engaged. People are not doing what they could do. You know, people have checked out, and that's not good.
No.
You know, I think once things get to that point, there needs to be a major shakeup in whether it's staff, whether it's in management. Right. You know, you've let the milk spoil. It's time to throw it out.
Well, and it's not always been a paradise in the office. You know, I mean, we go through it's valleys and hills,
Sure.
valleys and hills, and so it has to work out though, and when you change the pieces in the puzzle, because there's always that one person, you know, that just doesn't mesh, but you have to understand, and you have to listen to your people, and before we do anything drastic, we'll talk to everybody, and is it just like is it a gangbang? Are you just ganging up on somebody because you don't, you know, that's the way the office gossip is?
Because that's infectious, right? You get two
Very
or three
infectious.
people that are popular in the office, and they feel a certain way. Everybody starts leaning that way.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you get pushback from that. And I mean, it's hard to have peace all the time. And with us, and it's so busy, and things are constantly changing, it's tough. I mean, my dispatchers, I love them. I would never want to do that, but I do it, you know, but it's something that's like because you got to be on it the whole 8-10 hour shift that you're on. And then their supervisor has to be on top of them. And there's, you know, and it's always a love-hate relationship, but they're good at it. You know, they're good at absorbing each other's emotions back and forth. And so when they do bad, they know they've done bad. And it's just like, thank God it's not me. I got that, you know. I got that girl, Sarah, who is, she knows how to handle people. And I mean, when they're bad, and she calls them out on it. But when they're good, and she's good at giving advice to them as they're dispatching, you know, when you're dispatching that many vehicles,
Yeah.
it's a lot of pressure on those people. And our phone rings off the hook. And so we're making changes in our office with an automated system that we won't be getting so much calls in from the chauffeurs. And I would say, you know, we average, we're averaging 400 emails a day.
Wow.
You know, with probably double that in phone calls, but half of it's drivers checking in. So now we're doing something different to alleviate that pressure by a tablet. And that will automatically update the dispatchers on where we're at on every run, instead of getting phone call after phone call. Hey, I just picked up my person. Hey, I just dropped him off. Hey, I'm on my way to my next run. Hey, the plane's running late. So we've invested a lot of money on the system that's going to alleviate, you know, a lot of pressure from those, you know, what those people have to do constantly. And so, does that make any sense?
Yeah.
It's how you try to help them in any manner that you can, and at almost any price, because this program we bought was stupid money.
I was going to ask you, are these systems that you're implementing, are they part of existing systems, or are you guys pioneering this stuff?
No, it's so we worked on one I'll call the reservation program, and we had it for 30 years. And so it was good for when we were mid-size. And now that we're kind of mega size, it was holding us back. And so, and time has gone past where evolution has come, and there's some great merchandise out there for us, reservation programs, that's so automated and so Google influxed, and watching the flights to where we used to have to go on separate websites to watch flights.
Oh, I see.
Where this automatically updates. And like I said, it's less conversation between, less phone calls when you can just press, I'm en route, I'm at location, I'm dropped off. There's 4 phone calls that we're eliminating coming in the office.
That's got to be huge.
And so you figure I have like 14 people in my office and everybody's answering the phone. It's chaos. Even when it's really ringing like crazy, even the accountant people are having to answer it. They can't turn around and sell, but they're like, oh, they're on the phone right now. We'll take a message. So it's that culture that we're trying to alleviate a lot of pressure. It's still a high pressure job. When you're watching over that many vehicles, you got so many flights coming in, and people have to be notified. Like, the secretary will call and say, I want to know when every one of my people are convention, every one of my people get in that car. And that's a lot of phone calls on top of that. So you're making influx of phone calls, and you're making, you have to keep up more than the secretary. And we have them where three separate conventions want to be notified when their people hit the ground on the way to their hotel. But with the system, we've got it set up to where as soon as that driver says, I'm in progress with the client, it automatically sends a text to that.
That's awesome.
That person. So we're doing as much as we can to make it streamlined and more effective. And the people see that we're trying to do. To try to make it better, to make that, again, culture better, to where it gives you a chance to breathe and concentrate on what's coming up next, not necessarily what's going on right now, so that should take care of itself. And it's a great, like I said, it was really expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have literally bought a couple buses for what we paid for the system, but it's going to make us better in the long run. And it is, after 30 years of one reservation system, moving to this complex thing, we're doing it in phases.
Yeah.
Okay, you had to learn the sales part of it, how to put it in, how to maintain it, to closing it, to getting to the accounting department, to collecting the money. And it's working out.
That's crazy. That's crazy because, we talked about the mind dumping and the communication. There's 2 different ways of doing it. And it's funny because currently there's a lot of, where I'm at, it's a lot of taking the clothes hamper and dumping it on the sofa. Where you guys, it's more, let's pull the socks out. Let's pull the underwears out. Yeah. Let's pull the shorts out.
We have to make an organized pile. What's what's going to go in with the whites, what goes in with the colors.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, Kent, before I let you go.
Okay.
And I think I know the answer already, but I want to hear it out of your mouth. In 60 more years, when you decide to retire from Elegant, what do you hope your legacy is there?
Oh my gosh! And I have this motto, and I probably, it's hokey, but I make dreams happen, and I feel I do, and I just want to make sure everybody I touch, I help them. I want them, to know I care about people. And I want to have that, like, oh my God, that guy helped me with this. That guy, we pulled off a surprise for my wife. She's freaking out. I brought your baby home from the hospital. My legacy is he did good things, made people happy.
Love it.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Kent,
but it's a team that makes that happen. It's just not me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd like to take the glory for it, but God, if I didn't have the machine behind me, I'd be shit.
Yeah.
I'd be shit.
But that machine still it's a huge part of what you do. But if there's not people like you to run companies like that, people won't hang around. People won't stay around.
And I've seen it happen.
They'll jump ship because there's, like you said, there's somebody offering $500 and $35 an hour out there, and I think it's you. I think it's the culture. I think it's the people you employ. I think it's the way you train them. That way, I think your legacy turns into their legacy as well. And that, I think, is what is important in client retention and employee retention, So.
And if I could get that to happen, I mean, such an honor.
I love you, Kent.
Love you too, bro.
I appreciate
Thanks for
your
having
time.
me again. Number 100.
No, we'll see you we'll see you at 100.
You gotta have like a group thing, something that you got to do. We'll mix up some different camera angles. Or something.
There you go. We may do it in the hot tub too. Yeah. It's funny. I told Nina. I said Nina's always been adamant that she doesn't want to be on the podcast. And the other day she said, "You know what? Maybe I'll come on when you do 100." I said, "No, you can do 101. Kent's doing 100."
Oh, I'm going to help you think of something spectacular.
She's
for
out.
100.
She's out, Kent.
Oh, she'd be here. She would be here. I got ideas, man. I got ideas. For
hey, well, let me know. I'm all in.
You got it.
Appreciate you, Kent.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, brother. Love everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Gabe Molina Podcast.